is not a problem. It's the exercise of the rule of law. And the exercise of rule of law is supposed to prohibit the arbitrary use of power.
James Mattis was down on our southern border yesterday.
Our CBP agents need support, and this is a very, very righteous mission.
We just learned the Never Nancy House Democrats, they want new leadership.
But Nancy Pelosi is one of the most gobsmackingly corrupt of the Beltway swamp creatures. And anyone who is truly progressive would see that.
Today, I'm thrilled to announce my support for this bipartisan bill that will give former inmates a second chance at life after they have served their time.
They can say what they want to about him. He has the best interests of America in his heart, of all races.
Entertainer of the Year goes to Keith Urban.
God bless country music. God bless you all. Thank you.
Well, put it this way, I think Billy Joel's good, too, but he's not.
You're a New Yorker.
I'm telling you, everyone's on their feet at his concerts, and he comes out in the middle of the arena. It's really cool. So he's...
Brian, if you notice right
Brian
now...
is not in the shot.
Before we started the segment, Brian said to Ted, the camera guy, hey, make sure you just focus on me. And so Ted, being a joker, decided just to focus on us.
I love it, Ted. Thank you.
Right.
See,
So anyway,
if you ask for the camera to focus on you, you don't get it.
It's all about FaceTime.
It's all about Brian.
You talk about scared straight. I learned my lesson. I'll never do that again.
That sounds like a country song. Scared straight.
Scared straight. You got to put drinking and you got to break up with a girl in a song.
And a dog.
It can't be country.
And the Bible.
Yeah, your dog has to pass away suddenly.
And listen, last night's festivities out at the Country Music Awards were great. They were non-political, and you'll see some of the
Carrie
highlights.
Underwood said she's having a boy.
That's right. We're going to see some of the highlights a little later on. Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit about one of our top stories that we have been talking to you about for the last couple of weeks, and that is the caravan. Parts of it have arrived at our southern border, south of San Diego. In Tijuana is where they are encamped right now. There were 800 have arrived since Sunday. It's the end of the struggle trying to get to the United States. Now that they're just hundreds of yards away from it, they are considering their options. According to the New York Times this morning, some of them are going to apply for asylum. Some of them are going to illegally cross and just take their chances and hope they get away with it. And others will probably stay in Mexico.
Look at the pictures now that they've put the barbed wire up on the top. Now they're looking through the wall. Yesterday we had video of them hanging over the wall, some of them jumping over and in front of the Border Patrol officers, and when they would approach them, then they would run back over to the Mexico side.
Yeah. Right.
But now they've put that concertina wire on there.
Yeah, several hundred of got out of the caravan, got out of the buses, ran to the shelter, got some food, got treated for colds and some other ailments. General Mattis went to a different part of the border. He was in Texas, McAllen, Texas, where he visited his 5,000 plus troops, and he basically said something we don't agree with, and that is, don't watch the news. Listen to me.
There's all sorts of stuff in the news and that sort of thing. You just concentrate on what your company commander, your battalion commander tells you. And when the secretary decided that her border patrol needed help, she came to us. Not because of me. Look, I had to rent a suit to come down here. No, because of you. Because what you are every day. In the Army, you don't care if you're male or female. We don't care where you go to church or if you go to church or anything like that. We just care when there's trouble out there, will you keep the faith? Will you ride for the brand? When trouble looms, you go toward the trouble to help your buddy.
So there he is supporting the troops who are supporting the Border Patrol. We had Sebastian Gorka, who had, as you know, worked for the White House for a little while. He looks at what the Secretary of Defense is doing down there as a man on a mission. Watch.
Four-star Marine Corps legends like Secretary Mattis don't do political stunts. And in fact, Secretary Mattis has said so in public. This is something we've done dozens and dozens of times before under previous administrations, including the Obama administration. This is military support to civilian authorities. And when you've got 7,000, 10,000, 12,000 illegal immigrants coming to the border, then our CBP agents, our Customs and Border Patrol, need support. And this is a very, very righteous mission.
The Border Patrol tells you is these people who want to cross or cross people with their coyotes or however they get across, they know our laws better than we do, and they get the message. Remember, when Donald Trump was first hired and got the job, the word was he was going to crack down on the border, and everything slowed down. When it became clear that Congress wasn't going to act, everything sped up again. When those men and women go to the border and word gets out that we have military at the border, that message is going to go to Guatemala, is going to go to Ecuador, is going to go to Honduras, and that's going to help. Just their presence is going to help.
Well, I don't know. You know, one of the things they have learned with the caravans is that it's cheaper and safer than hiring a coyote. You know, if you're down in Honduras or Guatemala, it costs you $8,000-10,000 to have a coyote try to smuggle you into the country. Here you've got thousands of people not having to pay that. All they're doing, though, is they're banking on the United States of America will let them in either legally via asylum, or they're able to make some sort of a dash across the border and just melt into American society.
I guess it's all going to come down to what happens when they get here. How they're treated when they get here. I'm sure they're going to be treated with great decorum, but they cannot be put ahead of everybody else who's coming into this country the right way. Well, and if they cheat, we're going to have 15,000 coming the next week.
Yeah, it's just a matter of how you do all the paperwork and listen to all of their stories and hear all of them. There are so many of them. There are thousands of them coming through. And they know what to say, apparently. They've told them what words to say to let them all come through.
Well, if they need asylum, they know how to do that. Stay tuned on that. In the meantime, today is deadline day in Florida. Election workers have now put on, as you can see in these live reports, they put on blue surgical gloves as they examine the ballots.
Right. We hope they do. The deadline to finish, counting them hours away at about 3 o'clock today, as they're a heated battle right now over the U.S. Senate seat in Florida and is spilling over into the courtroom.
So Griff Jenkins is down in Broward County where election officials say they're almost done. Griff, what are we looking at with the blue gloves? What are they doing?
They put the blue gloves on to count duplications of damaged ballots that wouldn't go in the machines. But here's the good news here. There's only 384 total, 84 from early voting and mail-in, 300 from Election Day. They examine each one to make sure it matches up with the one that was damaged. And then that's why they're wearing the gloves, purportedly. And they've taken a break now, but they'll run those. They'll be done. Up in Palm Beach County, though, they're not going to make the deadline. In fact, we're getting reports they've all but thrown in the towel because of machines and the deadlines that are pressing on them. But let me give you a little bit of news on the lawsuit. We reported to you in the last hour that a Judge Walker, a federal judge, has sided with Nelson attorneys, ruling that as many as 4,000 voters had ballots rejected because of signature discrepancies, and they will have now until Saturday to fix it and potentially have it counted. Well, just now we're learning that Governor Scott's lawyers will appeal that, issuing this statement to Fox News moments ago. Quote, "We are immediately appealing this baseless decision, and we are confident we will prevail in the 11th Circuit." Let's be clear, Bill Nelson's high-priced Washington lawyers went to court to argue against a process that they previously argued for. So that playing out is not only the recounts, but also the lawsuits playing out here all across the state. One of Bill Nelson's lawsuits, by the way, had asked for a recount in all 67 of Florida's counties. That might benefit Palm Beach. We'll find out later today.
Hey, Griff, quick question. Since right now the governor's race is so far apart, 36,000 votes, I heard they don't need a hand recount. So could we have a winner named sooner than the Senate seat?
That's a great question. Once they get the second numbers in, and if in the governor's race between DeSantis and Gillum, that is not less than the 0.25%, the quarter percentage point separating them in total ballots out of the more than 8 million cast, they will then not have to have a hand recount, and we would be headed likely under Florida statute for a certification. That race would be done with. We'd be looking at the Senate, and then locally here, a very tight race in the Agriculture Commissioner.
That's right.
Guys?
All right. Griff Jenkins live down in Florida with the very latest. So it really all comes down to the number. At 3 o'clock this afternoon, remember those thousands of ballots that suddenly mysteriously showed up?
75,000.
Maybe they would make a difference. We don't know what the numbers are. Right now we know that in the Senate race it's 12,000, 13,000.
If you have a rent-a-car, check the hatch, because that's where they found the last one, in the rent-a-car. So, why would anyone be suspicious?
I think that was empty.
Oh.
I think the box, but it said provisional ballots.
There was one at the school that was found.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Should know at 3 o'clock. You'll see it live right here on Fox. You'll see the news right now live at Fox with Jillian.
That's right. Good morning. And we're following this Fox News alert. Saudi Arabia recommending the death penalty for 5 suspects charged in the brutal murder of Jamal Khashoggi. The country's top prosecutor says they planned to kill the columnist 3 days before murdering him at the Saudi consulate in Turkey, saying his body was chopped up after he overdosed on a sedative. The prosecutor also claims the Saudi crown prince did not know about the plot. An American's death on a cruise ship is being investigated as a possible murder. Local news outlets in Aruba reporting the woman fell from the upper deck of the Royal Princess cruise ship after struggling with a man who was seen choking her. Princess Cruises has confirmed her death. The ship is expected to return to Fort Lauderdale this weekend. And now extreme weather. Let's take you to a live look in Washington, D.C., where heavy snow is falling as a powerful nor'easter moves up the East Coast. I can't believe it's that time of the year. That storm already blamed for a deadly bus crash in Mississippi. 2 people killed and dozens injured after police say the driver lost control and flipped on an icy highway. The storm impacting travel, airlines canceling nearly 200 flights. The CMA Awards rocking Nashville. Hosts Brad Paisley and Carrie Underwood leaving politics off the table, but I love them. Underwood revealing she is having a boy, so congratulations. And as for the awards, Chris Stapleton winning the most, including Vocalist of the Year. But Keith Urban pulled off the night's biggest surprise, taking home Entertainer of the Year. I don't know if you guys heard me saying, I think my mic may have been up, but she always looks fabulous. Like, she just always looks beautiful. Yeah. Love it. Love her.
Does a great job.
Carrie
That's why they keep having her come back.
Brian.
Follow along.
Right. I mean, there was a lot of women there. I thought you meant Nicole Kidman because she married.
She's always beautiful, too.
Right.
Gosh, she's stunning.
Thank you,
She's
Jillian.
no longer married to Tom Cruise.
That's the way it works now.
Right.
She's married to the winner last night.
Right. Meanwhile, the video is shocking. You got a college basketball player gets knocked out.
Watch this.
Oh, I can't believe it. What a cheap shot. That player's punishment just revealed.
Plus, Congresswoman Liz Cheney just won the same leadership role that her father held 3 decades ago. So what advice did he give her? We're going to ask her.
House Republicans yesterday elected Congresswoman Liz Cheney as their new conference chair, the Post putting her in charge of the party's communications strategy.
The Congresswoman getting special advice on her responsibilities from her father, Dick Cheney, who held that same role 3 decades ago.
Who went on to be Chief of Staff and Secretary of Defense and Vice President of the United States. Congresswoman Cheney joins us right now. Congratulations, Congresswoman.
Thanks very much, you guys.
What does this mean to you?
Well, listen, it's a tremendous honor to have been elected by my colleagues. We're at a crucial moment. I think it really is a hinge point of history for our nation. We have such huge momentum with the Trump economy, with the jobs we've seen, with the improvements we've seen to our national security. We absolutely cannot let the Democrats in the House stop that momentum and turn us around. So we're going to fight every day to get our majority back.
Speaking of the Democrats in the House, it looks like Nancy Pelosi is having a tough slog. A bunch of never Nancys are saying, you know what, we're not going to let you be Speaker again. But she says she's got the votes.
Well, look, we'll watch and see what happens over there. I think it's certainly not an auspicious beginning to have freshman members conducting, a sit-in, it looks like, in Nancy Pelosi's office. And I'm sure that Minority Leader Pelosi likes the new energy that's coming in. The problem is most of that energy happens to be socialist. So that's certainly not a recipe for success for the nation or certainly for her party.
It's really cool that you're holding the same position your dad did 3 decades ago. What was his advice for you for this role?
Well, thanks, Ainsley. It was really special. He was actually there yesterday for the election. It was a very, very special moment. And I've watched him, of course, throughout his career. He's really been somebody that's shown me about how important it is to have the courage of your convictions. But I said, Dad, what's your big advice for this position? He said, Liz, just don't screw it up. So I'm going to do my best.
That's good advice for everything.
Exactly.
Congresswoman, what is your take on the First Lady of the United States coming out? And you've seen so many different dynamics in the White House, up close and personal, coming out and saying, listen, you got to get rid of this Deputy National Security Advisor. She's bad for the White House. She's not worthy of being in the White House. 24 hours later, she's gone.
Look, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Mrs. Trump. I think she's doing a wonderful job representing us all over the globe. And I think that she plays a very important role, both in terms of what she's doing in the East Wing, but also in terms of the support she's giving the president. And so I certainly wouldn't take anything she says lightly. And I just think she's a wonderful representative for us as a nation.
Mira Ricardo is the one she ousted, moved her to another place. But this is a show of strength for a first lady. Have you ever seen anything like it?
Well, look, I think it's always a mistake to underestimate first ladies. But let me also say, it raises a whole range of issues with respect to national security. We've already seen in the House the likely incoming chairman of the House Armed Services Committee say that he's going to be very focused in terms of making sure that we cut the size of our nuclear forces, we cut our strategic forces. It's another example of why we've got to make sure that we stay on the path President Trump has put us on in terms of ensuring that we actually are providing the resources necessary for our men and women to protect all of us.
What about the wall funding? What can we expect?
I think that's going to be crucial. We've got the continuing resolution is going to expire December 7th, and I think we're going to make sure, do everything we can in the lame duck to get that funding in there. I think, the Democrats, the more that the American people see them stand up and explain why they don't want to secure our border, why they want to abolish ICE, why they want to leave us in a situation where we are completely vulnerable, I think the more the American people are going to say, wait a minute, we don't want this. We want to go back to having the Republicans in control in the House.
But you have control for a few more weeks. Liz Cheney, congratulations on your elevation.
Thanks very much, you guys.
Congratulations.
I'll try my best.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for joining us. An urgent Thanksgiving warning just 1 week before the holiday. What you need to know before you go out and you buy your turkey.
And the Trump economy has people feeling like $1 million. The number of millionaires in the U.S. surging. Music, no more Christmas music, but here's why we're playing it. Time for your news by the numbers. First, $39,000. That's the total cost of every item in the song, 12 Days of Christmas. That according to PNC Bank, which said some items like a partridge is pricier this year. Have you ever tried to buy a partridge? The lines go out the door. Next, $375. That's how much KFC superfans could pay for the food chain's new clothing. The restaurant's selling jackets, hoodies, and T-shirts anywhere from $20 to $375. They can be purchased tomorrow in one KFC restaurant in New York City online. And I'll walk to my final spot, which should be right around here. Right, okay. $200. That's how much some are dishing out for designer turkeys. The Feisty Acres Farm on Long Island, New York, selling the organic birds for 10 times the cost of a supermarket turkey. One chef claims, quote, "You can taste that the bird lived a good life." I don't know if that's the slogan I should end with. Steve?
No, Brian.
Oh.
All right, First Lady Melania Trump getting criticized after clashing with a White House advisor.
Melania takes no engagement in the White House and yet is stepping forward to say, I want a deputy security advisor removed from office. This is an indicator of a dysfunctional White House.
Why is she dragging all this drama out? Why is she dragging us into this?
It just seems like a soap opera over there.
Maybe she's jealous of all the drama and she wants to be in the middle of it.
According to the story, Ricardo wanted Melania to sit in the middle section of the plane and Melania wanted to jump out of it. And
But is the media's criticism really warranted? Here to react is the Daily Signal's Kelsey Harkness. Kelsey, thanks for being with us. Good morning. Is the media treating her fairly? I mean, she's asked for the dismissal of the Deputy National Security Advisor.
I think the media is overreacting to this statement. Look, I certainly agree that it was highly unusual, but what's not unusual is for any First Lady to have some sort of say about who's working in the White House. Of course, they have their husband's ear, and at the end of the day, what we have here perhaps is more transparency, so at least we know what's going on in the White House. I thought everybody wanted more of that. And also, I think what needs to be said is that Melania has a staff half the size of former First Lady Michelle Obama. And so if this story involves the treatment of her staffers, I think it should be no surprise that she's pushing back and wants them to be treated fairly.
Well, there's so many double standards. You know, if this were a man calling for the oust of someone, then maybe it would be reported differently. But these networks that are bashing her, they don't know the real story. We don't know what's happening inside the White House. Clearly, she has a reason, right?
Right, and I think they're jumping to conclusions. I do hope we find out the full story behind this. But, you know, if this advisor was involved in the mistreatment of any of her staffers or involved in leaking any stories to the press, I think Melania has a right to say, you know, I don't think that I want her working here.
And other first ladies, they've used their influence within the White House walls, right?
Right, and it's hypocritical because I thought we live in a time right now when we're about female empowerment, and Melania Trump has gotten no credit for what she does. You know, she doesn't just support her husband across the board, everything he does. She's independent and she speaks her mind, and you would think that media on the left and some of the feminists would support her, but instead she's become a punching bag among many of the late night comedy hosts. Ironically, many of them are men.
Well, and listen to this. This was one of the headlines. UK Express said Melania Trump snubbed Michelle Obama. First Lady ignored predecessor's offer for help. Well, the Obamas haven't exactly, they've been critical of this administration. So why would she call Michelle Obama and ask for advice? What's wrong with that? She didn't need it. She doesn't want advice from Michelle Obama. Is that a big deal?
I don't think it's a big deal. I think Melania Trump knows what she's doing. She has been a role model in her role as First Lady, as was Michelle Obama, I would argue. But that doesn't mean that Melania needs to follow in Michelle's footsteps and do what she did and ask her for advice. I think Melania has demonstrated she is well capable of representing the White House to the country and the entire world.
Yeah, and I know that they talked right after the inauguration or right before the inauguration, and she did get advice from Michelle Obama, and they were praising the Obamas and saying such nice things about them around the inauguration time for all of their help and for their advice. But going forward, I guess she hasn't called her, and maybe Michelle took offense to that. But thank you so much for being with us, Kelsey. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. President Trump took a major bipartisan step forward toward rewriting our country's sentencing laws. Some of the major changes proposed coming up next when we are live from the White House. Plus, this woman hit the lottery jackpot, winning hundreds of millions of dollars. But what she's doing with some of that money might...
Working together with my administration over the last 2 years, these members have reached a bipartisan agreement. Did I hear the word bipartisan? Is that...
There you go.
Did I hear that word?
Yeah, I heard the word. The president cracking a joke as Republicans and Democrats actually came together in the same room and in Congress to try to get something done.
That's right. The House passing that criminal justice reform bill, giving the inmates a second chance.
And you'll see Democrats and Republicans high-fiving. Kevin Corke, is this true?
Imagine that, right? Now, what this is designed to do, guys, is actually reform the federal prison system. But I think most important of all, the design is to help inmates after release. As you know, recidivism is a very major problem, and so both Republicans and Democrats are trying to come together to make something happen. And the president, frankly, would like to sign this into law. Now, it's called the First Step Act, and it broadens employment opportunities for inmates. It also expands compassionate release programs for those who are terminally ill. The bill would also do away with the so-called three-strike provision that requires mandatory life sentences for third-time drug offenders, making the sentence 25 years instead.
Americans from across the political spectrum can unite around prison reform legislation that will reduce crime while giving our fellow citizens a chance at redemption.
The First Step Act has been co-sponsored by a Republican from Georgia, Doug Collins, and a Democrat from New York, Hakeem Jeffries. It passed overwhelmingly in the House back in May. The White House is hoping the Senate will see its way to the president's desk, and he'd like to have this signed into law by the end of the year. I should point this out, guys. I make phone calls every morning, and I sort of get a read for the day, and this was really interesting. I asked a White House official about it, and he said simply, it's not a black issue, it's not a white issue, it's a people issue. Right. And that's why the president wants to make sure that this gets over the hurdle and is signed into law.
But they think they can do it, Kevin? They think there's enough time to do it? And I know it's up to Mitch McConnell to go get the 60 votes, but he should have them, right?
I think he should have them. Listen, whether you're Democrat or Republican, this is something that everybody can agree on. Reform needs to happen. The levers of reform you may take issue with or quibble over, but there are real people here who need our help.
All right, Kevin Corke, live at the
Thanks,
North
Kevin.
Lawn, where it's snowing.
Yes, it is.
So beautiful.
Thank you.
Just a week before Thanksgiving.
All
Already
right.
getting the snow.
First criminal justice, then immigration. Then next thing you know, everything will be compromised. We'll just keep moving forward.
Will you check him for a fever?
I think, Jillian, there could be a coming together in Washington.
Bipartisan on everything.
I think it's going to be just compromise and everything's going to be beautiful from now on.
That's what I'm thinking.
Christmas is around the corner.
That's true. All right, so we do have some serious news, guys. This Fox News alert that we are following, and at least 59 people confirmed dead in the California wildfires. The Sierra Fire scorching nearly 150 acres east of LA. Brand new drone video, look at this, showing the devastation caused by the Camp Fire in the north. 8,800 homes destroyed in the town of Paradise. Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke touring the devastation with Governor Jerry Brown, saying it's the worst he's ever seen. All right, so you might want to think twice about handling raw turkey on Thanksgiving. Health officials are urging the USDA to identify the turkey brands linked to a salmonella outbreak. So far, 164 people have gotten sick in 35 states. About half of them had to be hospitalized. One person died in California. Guess you could buy that $200 turkey Brian told us about earlier. A college basketball player is banned from campus. Did you see that? This nasty cheap shot. Just watch it again. That's Fitchburg State's Kewan Platt elbowing a Nichols State player right in the face. This happened on the court in Massachusetts. That player, Nate Tenaglia, finished the game and is okay. Police are investigating. And this story is amazing. A brand new lottery winner giving back to our country's heroes. Loren West revealing on the Ellen DeGeneres show she's donating $500,000 to the Travis Mills Foundation, which helps wounded vets.
Very important to me that we never forget the sacrifices that our soldiers and their families make for our country.
West says she was inspired by her dad and brothers who served in the military. The single mother of three from Iowa won $343 million in the Powerball jackpot last month. Isn't that incredible?
Sharing the wealth.
Yep.
That is terrific.
Single mom, that's sweet. Now she doesn't have to worry about college and all that stuff.
She doesn't have to worry about anything.
I
She's
know.
just really great.
So generous of her. We love our veterans.
Well, a moment ago, we saw that Kevin Corke was on the north lawn of the White House where it is snowing. And Janice, the storm is heading our way.
It is. It's not here yet. But where are you from, sir?
Fargo, North Dakota.
So this is nothing for you.
Nothing. It's warm today.
I love it. And you want to say hi to somebody at home, right?
Fort Myers, Florida. My wife is at hospital for special surgery. Wish her a speedy recovery.
Aw, I love it. And happy birthday to you. How are you? How old are you, sir?
I'm 16 years old.
Having fun so far?
Yes.
Gonna get into trouble?
Yeah.
Yeah. And right over here, who do you want to say hi to?
To all our family and friends back in Illinois and Iowa.
And who do you have a crush on?
Brian. Oh, my.
Oh, you mean?
Yes.
Would you like to have him come out and say hi?
I'd love to.
Okay.
Just shake hands with him. I would accept a hug.
Oh, a hug from Brian Kilby. That's something we all wish for.
But it's a little, Janice, it's a little cold.
It's a little cold, he says.
Yeah, y'all can hug each other and stay warm.
He's got, come on, Brian,
I know,
get
I'll
out
come
here.
out.
All right, let's take a look at the maps real quick as Brian Kilmeade makes a sprint to come out and give us all a hug. Here we go. In New York, we're not even reporting. That's how cold it is. 16 right now in Boston. This is current wind chill. So that storm that Kevin Corke was in D.C., that is coming up the coast. And unfortunately, we have a messy commute for parts of the Ohio Valley where we have an ice storm warning in effect. So you don't want to be traveling in that. We're going to have massive travel delays across the Northeast. By tomorrow, it will be out of here. But for now, across the Northeast, this is what we are dealing with. A little early for Thanksgiving. Say hi to everybody at home, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Yay! Okay, will you accept a hug from me?
Sure.
All right, there you go.
There you go.
You're off the hook, Brian.
Hey, let me tell you, I'm going to be running into the warmth over the weekend on Saturday.
Getting lots of hugs.
Yeah, going to Vero Beach at the Book Center. I'll be there at noon signing Andrew Jackson, The Miracle of New Orleans, third week on the bestseller list. Thank you, America. And also Canada and some people in Central and South America. And later, Barnes & Noble in the afternoon at 8 o'clock.
So if you do go out there and you do get a hug, take his advice and get dressed.
That's all I ask you to do is be dressed. And I'm going to be wearing a tank top because it's summer, like summer.
Good.
And then Orlando, the rest of his stuff is on Bright.
Never a good idea for a man to wear a tank top.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Most of us would agree.
I cannot wait to ask Charles Payne that question.
Well, he is coming up in a minute. But first, a college student under fire and now facing calls to resign from her student government position because of an offensive phrase she used in a Facebook post. They said it was offensive. She's going to talk to us live about what the phrase was, and you'll be the judge.
And the Trump economy has people feeling like $1 million. The number of millionaires in the U.S. is surging. Charles Payne breaks down the number.
Good morning to you and welcome back. Some quick headlines now. And how about this? A couple and a homeless veteran accused of making up a viral, heartwarming story to cash in. We told you about the story a while ago. This is according to NBC 10 News in Philadelphia. The couple initially claimed the veteran spent his last $20 to help the stranded woman pay for gas in New Jersey. The couple then raised more than $400,000 through GoFundMe for that veteran. There will be an update on the case later today. And former political rivals Senator Ted Cruz and Beto O'Rourke booked on the same flight to D.C. A passenger says O'Rourke walked over to Cruz and congratulated him on his big win. And an online battle brewing over the least popular emoji. A Twitter bot tracks emoji use every hour and actually posts updates. Right now, the least used emoji is the input symbol for Latin capital letters. So who would have ever thought that that was a thing?
Well, you know what?
But it is.
I have never used that. And apparently neither has anybody else. All right, Jamie, thank you. Meanwhile, Americans are cashing in on the Trump economy with 878,000 new millionaires to prove it in the last year alone.
Charles Payne, host of Making Money on the Fox Business Network, is here to weigh in on this. This is great news.
It is great news. It came out a month ago, and it's from Credit Suisse, and this is what they do because they're on the hunt for the clients, for new clients. So they scour the entire planet. Probably no other organization has a better global view of this. And, almost 900,000 new, millionaire household net worths. The average American household, $391,000. By far and away the largest in the world. Europe is at 144,000. China's at 47,000. So here's the great thing. We grew faster than any other place in the world also in the last year.
So what is happening in the United States, economy-wise, for these individuals so that they are able to amass so much money that they haven't been able to do in the past?
Well, it gets back to the notion that the same tide lifts all ships. And when you see economic prosperity, it is normally shared prosperity. And this is why we shouldn't be upset if someone is making more. So if somebody already made $5 million and they're making 10, God bless them. If I went from 50 grand to 75 grand, I should feel blessed as well. That's what we're seeing. Our economy has been unleashed. It's been unlocked. It was moored in fear. It was in a bunker. It was afraid. It was worried. Those regulations have been removed. Taxes have come down. And we've got 7 million job openings. We've never had that before in the history of this country.
But what we need right now is to find out why the market's going up and down and so erratic. I know you do that for a living, but a lot of people point to the world economy. China struggles, Europe struggles, and they're taking us down.
Well, they are. Everyday earnings come out. In fact, this morning, for instance, Walmart came out. Walmart's earnings, the revenue were a little bit less than what Wall Street expected. That was all international. That was all international. If the dollar wasn't so strong, the international business would have been 30 billion instead it was 28 billion. But the bottom line is American business for Walmart this morning through the roof. Everything is phenomenal, better than it was a year ago. But you're right. We saw GDP declines in Germany, Japan. Now, there's some extenuating circumstances, too. China slowing down. We are concerned that the weak global economy could start to hurt our economy. But right now, we are head and shoulders the #1 economy in the world.
And Walmart's about to do much better because Christmas is around the corner and Toys R Us is closed. So now people are going to Walmart,
Target, and those guys. I mean, my 5-year-old granddaughter, her birthday was a month ago. I went to Target. Half the store was Toys R Us now.
I know.
Yeah.
What about the criticism I'm sure the president would get? You look at these numbers, so many new millionaires. He's just helping the rich get richer.
Well, again, it's if you look at most of these surveys, particularly optimism, the bottom 1/3 of Americans actually are the most optimistic right now. The top 1/3, they're the ones who are worried about, hey, don't disrupt the global economy, Mr. President. It's the bottom 1/3 that are seeing gains and that also feel the most optimistic about this economy. They've got a chance right now. They are working, and 2 or 3 years ago, they never thought they'd get a job again.
I just hope at the G20, China and the U.S. sit down because so much matters and we work out a new trade.
Well, they are sitting down. China made some overtures yesterday that were okay, a step in the right direction. It's going to be resolved, but it's got to be resolved in the right way because this is the last chance we have to make that right.
Charles Payne, thanks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, coming up straight ahead on our show, a college student under fire now facing calls to resign from her student government position. Why? Because of an offensive phrase she used on Facebook. She joins us live to talk about what that phrase was next.
But first, let's check in with Sandra Smith with a preview of coming attractions.
Hey, Steve Ainsley and Brian, good Thursday morning to you. We're going to have the latest on this horrific California wildfire situation that has so far killed 59 people statewide. Brand new drone video showing the complete devastation in some areas. Plus, deadline day for the Florida recount. We're going to have the latest on the ground in Lauderhill. And coming up, a family searching for answers after their 27-year-old son was murdered while vacationing in Mexico with friends. Taylor Meyer's parents join us as they continue to search for answers. Thursday morning in America's Newsroom, Ari Fleischer, Alan Dershowitz, Senator John Barrasso, and more. Join us live at the top of the hour.
Illegal aliens in Kansas hurts Kansas taxpayers every single day. But the phrase illegal aliens outraged some student diversity officials who are now demanding that she resign as the student government vice president.
Where does it stand right now? Let's talk to her right now. Michaela Todd joins us from Topeka, Kansas. She's at Emporia State University. Michaela, why did you use that term, and are you surprised at the reaction?
In fact, I was very shocked about the reaction that I got from my Facebook post. When I posted that, I was very excited about saying who I supported. I wanted to encourage other people to go out and to vote for Kobach. And so when I was listing the reasons why I thought he was the best candidate for Kansas, I pretty much just took what his platform was. I talked about how he would help our education system and how he would support Second Amendment rights and pro-life advocacy. And I also talked about immigration. And I used the term illegal alien because that is what he used in his platform, and it also is a legal term. It is a legal term that is used in the federal government. It's used here in Kansas. It's also used in universities around the country, including in Emporia State. So.
Well, I know that some of these groups want you to resign. Do you plan to do that?
I do not. I am sticking to to what I believe in. I have also had a lot of students come out and support me in this when people were attacking me. And these students are a lot like me. They are conservative students, and they haven't felt like they've been able to voice what they believe in here at Emporia State. And so I feel like backing down would be doing them a disservice too, because they're being able to use this as a platform to voice their beliefs also. And I don't think that using that term, since I was using it in the legal sense, I wasn't trying to be derogatory or dehumanizing to anybody. So I've apologized and said there was never my intent to hurt anybody. I never want to inflict pain on other people.
Well, here's what Emporia State University, the college, actually issued a statement. They say the university encouraged Associated Student Government to study the issue and determine appropriate next steps. Associated Student Government has resources at its disposal to make an informed decision. So what are they going to do?
Well, the administration at Emporia State is taking a very hands-off approach to this. They believe that this is a student issue, and it is. It's involving students. It's involving student government. And as student government, we have the ability to make this decision. We do have power as the representatives for the students to discuss this and to make the decision on our own. And I think what senators have realized is that with these actions that we can make, there are consequences, which is why I think this is just a really good learning experience for everybody involved.
Well, Michaela, you're learning about politics at a very early age. You're getting a taste of it. So stay true to who you are. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.